Hello, and welcome to The Leap. We are really glad you are here and want to thank you for joining us today. This is your podcast to guide you on how you too can make the leap from working for someone else to being in business for yourself full time. Before we dive in, remember you can find the audio podcast version of this episode and others on Apple Music, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Now let's begin. Here's your host and fellow leaper, Tim May.
Hello, it's Tim May, and welcome to The Leap. I've got a special guest in the building, Susie Fife. How are you, Susie?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
We're going to have a great time. Former ball player, we'll get into that a little bit, but a powerhouse business owner. We were talking a little bit earlier, and some of the things that you've done and some of the things that you're doing.
Sure.
Our listeners are going to get a lot of value out of this. So you ready to get started?
Yeah, excited.
Introduce your company.
Yeah, so I own a creative agency named Red Orange Studio. It'd be 15 years old as of June 5th. We are a creative branding agency, so we serve as brand partners to different organizations and companies, small scale to larger businesses, a lot of nonprofits, healthcare, transportation, finance industries, and then just across the board with a lot of our small business startup packages that we do as well, which include 5-page WordPress websites, logo designs. We just do a lot of creative copywriting and messaging as well. So been doing that for a while and have been fortunate to do what I love.
So creative agency, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great creative agencies, quote unquote, in Richmond area. And a lot of them might specialize in some different things. So somebody might specialize in video or content creation. Another might specialize in PR, public relations, or might be more of a marketing, like results-driven kind of digital marketing agency. We're not just a graphic design company, which is where I started. I might have called myself graphic design, web design agency or company because it was just me and a few other people. But an agency is really kind of a full service. You've got a marketing plan and you need somebody to help you kind of execute the creative. A lot of times agencies are using partners and bringing them in and kind of serving as the one go-to source for either business owner or, like I said, an internal marketing team that wants to use an agency to create their content. And even if we pull in partners, like they want us to be that central point of strategy, really building out the strategy to speak their brand voice, to carry out the goals or objectives of their marketing strategy. So,
Wow. So, okay. So let's take the listeners back a little bit, okay?
Okay.
Where are you from?
All right. So I am from Iowa, Midwest girl.
Okay.
Basketball and art brought me out to Richmond, 1,500 miles away. I was the only family member to go far away for school, but really wanted to leverage my athletic kind of ability in basketball, love for basketball, to get a good art education.
And you went to VCU, which has an outstanding arts program.
Yeah, one of the best in the country.
And so you major in?
Communication, art, and design. So there was a graphic design track as well. There's lots of art tracks, and they've changed since I went to school. But communication, art, design with a focus on digital art.
Okay, so you graduate from college, and what is your first job out of college?
Yeah, so my first job, actually, I did do 1 year because I couldn't get a job out of college.
Yep.
I did the grad program for sports leadership at VCU and was able to do all the graphics for the athletic department. So they just gave me a little stipend and paid for my school. And during that time, I was able to build some freelance.
Yep. And you see, but the thing about it is, and listeners, we want you to notice is that as you're maneuvering towards whatever goal you think, it's so much that you actually get and learn, even from those jobs, internships, the free work that you do, because you're able to build your business resume there. Maybe share one thing that you learned from that first opportunity.
Oh, yeah. I got to work on stuff that I didn't learn in school. So just across the board, from print material to video graphics to web stuff, and just really got to work with a team for the first time of really seeing how my skills kind of played out in the bigger picture of a project or a product, final delivery. It was just a really great hands-on experience. And then, of course, being able to learn some leadership skills that I didn't didn't know one day, just from, because that wasn't my plan to get a master's. I didn't need one or want one, but to be able to do that as my only option turned out to be the best option, because I was able to learn a lot of leadership skills that carried me into business ownership.
Which leadership is influences everything. Everything rises and falls on leadership. That's a John Maxwell staple and principle.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to go back even when you were in Iowa. When was the first time you exhibited any entrepreneurship spirit of any kind?
It's so crazy because when I was thinking about turning my freelance into a full-time business, I had not had this thought until that moment. Like I didn't have any recollection of doing this until that moment when I was considering starting a business, right? And I remembered I was about 10 or 11 and I like to draw all the time, but I took my drawings one summer, and I took them to my dad's office. He was a pastor, so I took him to the church office and I made copies without asking. He wasn't too happy because I think I used all his paper available, made copies of my drawings, and I went around the block and just sold them door to door as coloring books. And
wow.
Yeah, and it was really cool because I was like, man, God, are you serious? Did I really, I totally had not even thought about that. And it was like him letting me know, yes, you're an artist and artists can make money. You can use your gift to help other people and make a living.
Because there are a lot of people, Susie, that are in the arts and they're probably told, oh,
Absolutely.
You'll be a starving artist. Maybe share a story that kind of hit you.
Yeah, I hope my brother-in-law doesn't listen to this, but I definitely remember.
Send him the link.
Yeah. Remember, he grew up in Iowa, and I didn't live on a farm. Some people think that everybody who lives in Iowa grew up on a farm. But he did. So when my sister married him, I was young, and he would take me out in his tractor. And, that's the place where you have talks. So takes me out in his tractor, and he's like, so Susie, you're really smart. I was like valedictorian, and I was like a smart kid. And he's like, you sure you're going to be using your gifts, if all that intellect going into art? Are you sure that's really what you want to go into? And kind of, I don't think he used the term starving artist, but that's kind of the vibe I got.
What he implied.
And it was out of love, but just, I think that was kind of a typical mentality, is you're going to study art that you may or may not have a career in it, So yeah, that's one instance I can recall. I mean, mostly though, my family were supportive, and it's not that he wasn't supportive.
They
He
want the best for you.
Wants the best for me. And I was just having a conversation with a new friend a couple hours ago, and they are looking at possibly changing careers from sales to doing something that they can use their creative gifts some more, and pivoting a little bit. And I think a lot of people are in that kind of position now of, all right, if I've lost my job or I'm furloughed or just in the midst of a lot going on in our country, it's time to really think about using our gifts and our talents and creating some meaningful work, if we can, as a business.
I think there are tons of people who will be better off because they are able to take some time and within their own thoughts, or if they're a believer, they can listen to God speak to them. And it's going to open up doors that they would have never have considered. Yeah. Because they've got time.
Yep.
And
it's a gift.
Time is a gift. So at VCU, and then what's the next step from there?
Yeah. So, all these job openings at different agencies in Richmond. And I'm like, I want to, have a design job at one of these cool agencies where they've got ping pong tables and stuff. And, it just looks like
that
so much
was
fun.
The rave. Yeah, because that was a rave, to kind of attract, new employees.
Yep. And I landed a job at a finance company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And as an in-house designer, they were one of my freelance clients. And they said, Susie, you're great. We really need some marketing help. Will you come? And so it was funny because I told them, yeah, I'll come if you let me paint my office orange. And would you believe they actually did? You would turn the corner of this very conservative, traditional finance office, and there'd be this glow, from around the corner. And it would be my very orange. It was not like just this subdued pumpkin orange.
It was I was like, wow, okay.
It was like, it probably was more orange than I had anticipated it was going to be. But every wall, it wasn't an accent wall. It was all four walls were orange. I had a lot of people laugh at me about that, but it was pretty cool. They let me do that. And, it was talk about, sometimes we feel like we are optionless or like we're just going to take what we can get. Well, really, I think I'm thankful that I had those opportunities, even if they didn't seem like exactly what I wanted. I definitely am convinced right now, looking back, that those were the right opportunities for me, because that finance company was owned by two men that really mentored me and showed me how they ran their business. They would answer any questions I had. I got to learn the finance side of things, and it was during that time of working with them, probably about my third year, that I had started thinking about turning my freelance work that I was doing on the side into business. And meanwhile, they were so gracious. They let me use their computer, the software they paid for me. They said, you can use it for your freelance work as long as it doesn't interfere with the work you're doing here. So anyway, they let me go part-time to move my freelance into Red Orange Studio.
Wow.
They let me go part-time for a year. And then when I came to them and I said, hey, my freelance has really grown, I think I'm ready to go full-time, they became my first retainer client and were retainer clients for like 10 years after that. So huge mentors. I can go to them even now and just kind of ask them questions. When I merged my company with Teresa, they were one of the first people I talked to, because they have done it successfully as business partners. So
you're working there, and then you say, you work out something where you can work part-time and then really start growing. At what point, where were you? Walk me through your mind the night you said, it's time to do this full time.
Well, for me, there wasn't like an overnight thing. But there was definitely really a knowing that I could do it and that I had the support in place. So by then I was married and I had a supportive husband. I was pregnant with our first kid. So there's definitely a part of me that was like, oh my gosh, like, can I just have worse timing? Like I'm about, but on the flip side, I was like, well, actually it could be really the best timing, because I can be more flexible and, create that flexibility for my son, and which was my firstborn of 3 now. But yeah, just really, did a lot of planning, had a lot of mentors in my life that reaffirmed me that it was the right time. I didn't just kind of flippantly go into it, but there was certainly a leap, a faith in that I was going from a very good paying job to something where, I had to kind of meet a certain number of logos I had to design each month and certain number of things to even make a 70% of what I was making before. So yeah, that's kind of how it was. I knew that I could do it with the support that I had, but it was certainly a leap.
I like to ask people, how much did you have a lot of money in the bank when you made the leap? like 90% of the people I interview, they're like, are you kidding me? Like, no.
And I mean, thankfully with the creative skill, like a lot of that marketing work that maybe a startup would need, I could do for myself.
Yep.
So a lot of it was just creative problem solving. I remember I had a wedding division where I created custom wedding logos and invitations for the first 5 years of the business. I ended up selling that about 6 years or 7 years in. But I remember going to a wedding show, and investing to go there to show my three invitations I'd ever done. Showed those 3 best invitations. Yep. But I had some friends bring their husbands or guy friends, and I had them put on a red orange shirt that I made, because I knew it was going to be a bunch of women around, and I wanted guys to be representing my brand. Absolutely. So they were going around representing just kind of walking through everybody with my brand on it, giving away gift cards if they stopped by my booth, or, just really trying to get creative with the limited funds that I had. And like I said, I'm just thankful to have some of those, the creative skill set to do some of that on a low budget.
But you know what? It takes money in investing. It really does. Was there something in your life, in your family situation where, you and your husband said, you know what, let's hold off on doing this or cut back on doing that? Maybe talk about how you maybe had to alter your lifestyle to make this dream come true.
Yeah, it was early on in our marriage, and I'm so fortunate. My husband is so supportive, my biggest encourager and cheerleader, and material things were never important to him. So he didn't need to have a big house or, we didn't go shopping. Like
Yep.
there were a lot of things we just didn't do, but we both had that similar mindset that it wasn't that important. We had everything that was important. But I had my parents, had bought me a computer in college, and it was a really, really like the top of the line computer. And I probably got their support buying some software, and so just having it was a little bit is what all I needed to grow. And then it was just a matter of whatever income I had. Thankfully, John, my husband, had a somewhat steady professor position. Anything that I made just went back into the business for the first couple of years.
Yep.
I mean, I might have paid, if I paid for any bills, it was out of the business account that I could write off,
Yep.
Home internet. There was a lot of things that I could write off, which was a benefit to the family, but I wasn't taking a paycheck for the first couple of years. I mean, what was that? I was like,
Right.
It's only actually in the last 4 years that I've taken a steady pay and really what I should be making. And it's still way under, but it's, I first time 4 years ago that I took a steady paycheck, pay myself.
Yeah.
So,
But you know what? So let's take a moment here and help our listeners, because some of them are listening and watching this and they're saying, whoa, it took a year or two for a steady paycheck. Like, I don't know if I could do that. And I probably say this on almost every one of the episodes that I do. And I will say it on this one as well. When you want to make the leap, it's very important, at least is what I did. And this is what I profess, that when you want to make the leap, you actually alter things in your lifestyle so that you can be successful and fund your business, as opposed to skimp on your business in order to have money for your lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you have to skimp on your business to meet your needs, but there was no extra fluff.
Yep.
And it was okay because I was doing what I loved every day, and I was helping people, and I was feeling fulfilled. And when you ask me to look back, I did not miss out on anything.
It didn't feel like a sacrifice.
Oh, no, it really didn't. And I know everybody's in different situations and positions, but it is so doable, and the sacrifices are worth it. I wouldn't say that throughout the 15 years of business ownership, I haven't thought, is this worth it? There's definitely been times where it feels like sometimes it's unbalanced, the sacrifice I'm making, and wondering if it's paying off. But there is no other way that I'd have it.
I hear you. We got Susie Fife of Red Orange Studio here. Want to ask you this, Susie. What is something that you are able to do because you're your own boss that perhaps you may not be able to do if you were working for somebody else?
One of my the greatest satisfaction I have, and what continues to motivate me to push forward, is being able to employ creatives and great people. Providing opportunities for jobs and for internships and watching people grow. I had this awesome web developer who I gave him his first full-time web development job, and he was a waiter, before, and did it on the side, but he was so good. The best web developer I'd had come across. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this work, but hey, you want to come work for me? And then to see him go off 3 years later and get this huge, twice the salary, probably, if not more, development job. And he is now in that work world. And it just brings me a lot of satisfaction to help people in their own careers move forward.
It's interesting. I sit down with tons of people and have these conversations, and people that make the leap, they rarely ever talk about making a ton of money and the material things. It comes in it helps serve somebody. You're serving a purpose. You're solving a problem, and you're able to employ people. It's a really humbling. It's a humbling feeling. It's a responsibility.
Yeah,
but it's a humbling feeling to know that you were able to plant a seed, give an opportunity, just like someone gave you an opportunity, and plant a seed on their pathway to wherever it led for them.
Yeah,
and it's just so cool to be a part of a team. I played sports as well, and team sports. And you can miss that kind of once you go to college or you graduate, maybe you're working, for someone else and perhaps you're not a part of the team, or maybe not everyone, might be part of a team, but not everyone is part of the team, and just to be able to employ people and help people out and know that the braces that their child has on is because you had this idea, you took a risk, and you're producing, they're working with you, and their child has braces. I'll never forget, I employed I hired somebody. It was actually my first ever employee. And I remember her saying, I've got to go get my child braces and out of this and out of that. And it was so humbling for me because I was like, you're able to help people out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because if you were to ask me what's also like the hardest thing about owning my own company, it would be managing the people.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like this, but wouldn't we say the same thing as parents? Like the hard thing about parenting is like managing our kids or disciplining them or, but then the payoff is just amazing. So yeah.
And just the waking up every day. I personally haven't had that Sunday morning. I'm sorry, that Sunday evening feeling, that gut feeling like, oh my gosh, I got to go into work. I've been nervous for sure. Like I'm not going to act like I haven't, but I've never had that. Oh my gosh, it's Sunday evening. I've got to go into work, and that's priceless.
Yeah,
that's priceless. I definitely, you hit it on the nail. We probably could make more money if we were to work for somebody else. Take our skill sets, they'd probably pay us double. But Sunday evenings are sweet. Spend time with your family, knowing that you go to something that you own and to be able to help. And
yeah,
cool.
I like that because a lot of people do have that Sunday night kind of feeling. And it is nice to just be like, oh, man, not to have that. And for me too, as a creative, it's just amazing to see your vision just kind of come to life. And, when my daughter is very creative as well, she's 11, and for her to come to the office with me and go over my shoulder and start art directing work over my shoulder, just for her to see her mom knowing that that's an option for her, seeing a woman owning a business as a creative. She's already thinking that way, and then even my son, it's just really cool to see him be, my mom owns business and just to pull up my website in his computer class to show, there's a lot of pride in bringing your community and your family into what you're doing and giving that example that it can be done. And, that it's worth all the sweat and tears.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you, there's been a lot of that too.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Where can they find you, Susie?
Red Orange Studio. We have an awesome little studio in Shockoe Bottom. We've been there for about 5 years, and you can find us online, of course, redorangestudio.com. You can see all of my team's amazing work, some case studies, some blogs, meet the team, some video work we've done, and of course, social media.
Yeah. I enjoyed this.
Good. Thank you. I did as well.
This was Susie Fife of Red Orange Studio, and this is Tim May with The Leap.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you are notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends who you know would also love to take the leap. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you are leaving with some great things that can help you on your pathway to full-time business ownership. Now go out there and put one foot in front of the other. Until next time.